The summer of 1969 shimmered with an almost palpable anticipation, a collective global breath held in suspense. On July 20th, a date forever etched into the annals of human endeavor, the impossible truly became reality. Apollo 11th, a magnificent testament to audacious ambition and relentless human spirit, gently settled upon the desolate, dust-covered lunar plains. From within its metallic, alien shell, astronaut Neil Armstrong uttered words that would forever reverberate through the very fabric of history. "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," he declared, his voice a crackling beacon across millions of television sets worldwide. A profound wave of euphoria, unprecedented in its scope, swept across continents, momentarily uniting humanity in a shared moment of unparalleled triumph. This shared experience transcended language and culture. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated wonder. Yet, even amidst this widespread and joyous celebration, a tiny, insidious seed of doubt began to germinate in certain minds, quietly taking root. Could such an extraordinary feat, so monumental, so unprecedented, and so seemingly miraculous, truly have been accomplished by human hands? The question lingered, a shadow on the bright lunar surface. For decades since that fateful summer, a persistent and deeply captivating theory has taken hold, drawing in a curious and often passionate segment of the global population. This theory, whispered in hushed tones and debated fiercely online, posits that the entire moon landing was nothing more than an elaborate, meticulously staged deception. Proponents of this audacious conspiracy suggest, with an almost religious fervor, that NASA, the very agency lauded for its groundbreaking achievement, orchestrated a colossal and intricate hoax. They claim, with unwavering conviction, that the iconic footage, the seemingly authentic photographs, and the entire compelling narrative of lunar exploration were all meticulously filmed within a secret, terrestrial studio, far from the vacuum of space. This belief offers an alternative, more dramatic reality. It challenges the very foundations of trust in official institutions. One of the most frequently cited pieces of evidence by these determined skeptics revolves around the seemingly inexplicable behavior of the American flag. In the grainy, often blurry, black and white images transmitted from the lunar surface, the flag appears to wave and ripple, as if caught in an unseen, gentle breeze. How could it possibly flutter so freely, they demand, their voices laced with incredulity, in the absolute, airless vacuum of space? This fundamental question forms a cornerstone of their argument, directly challenging the very laws of physics as understood and applied on the moon. NASA's official explanation, however, offers a straightforward, logical, and scientifically sound counterpoint. The flag, they patiently clarify, was not simply draped from a conventional pole, as it would be on Earth. It was specifically designed with a telescopic pole extending horizontally from its top edge, creating a rigid frame. This ingenious bar, they explain, was intentionally incorporated to make the flag appear unfurled and proudly flying, even in the complete absence of atmospheric wind. The ripples and folds observed, they contend, are merely permanent creases and wrinkles in the fabric, permanently set from its tightly packed storage during the long and arduous journey to the moon. These folds, once unfurled, would remain in place due to the lack of gravity to pull them flat. The visual effect is indeed striking. Another pervasive and visually striking argument centers on the conspicuous absence of stars in the lunar photographs. The vast, inky blackness of deep space, undeniably visible from the moon's surface, should logically be teeming with countless, glittering celestial bodies. Where are the stars? Conspiracy theorists repeatedly inquire, pointing to the stark, unnervingly starless skies in every official image released by NASA. This perceived and glaring omission fuels their profound suspicion, suggesting a deliberate and systematic manipulation of the photographic record to conceal the truth. Scientists and photographic experts, however, provide a clear, concise and technically accurate rebuttal to this persistent claim. The lunar surface, they meticulously explain, was intensely illuminated by the direct, unfiltered, and blinding light of the sun. The astronauts' pristine white spacesuits, designed for maximum reflectivity, and the bright, reflective lunar regolith also contributed significantly, creating an exceptionally bright foreground. The cameras utilized by the Apollo missions were specifically equipped with settings optimized for capturing these brilliantly lit foreground elements with precision. This meant that the camera's aperture and shutter speed were carefully adjusted to prevent severe overexposure from the overwhelming intensity of the sunlight. Consequently, faint objects like distant stars, which emit significantly less light and are mere pinpricks in the vastness, would simply not have been captured by the camera's sensor under such conditions. It is a common and well-understood photographic principle. They assert that an intensely bright foreground will almost always obscure and render invisible the comparatively faint background. This photographic reality is often misunderstood. The peculiar and seemingly inconsistent angles of shadows in some lunar photographs also serve as a recurring point of contention for many skeptics. They meticulously analyze these images, claiming that shadows appear to diverge or run parallel in ways that seem utterly inconsistent with a single, distant light source like the sun. This perceived anomaly, they argue, strongly implies the clandestine presence of multiple artificial light sources, a clear indication of a staged studio set. However, this argument frequently overlooks the complex and often counterintuitive interplay of light, perspective, and terrain on the moon. The sun's extremely low angle relative to the lunar horizon, combined with the uneven, cratered and undulating lunar terrain, can create a myriad of optical illusions. Perspective, combined with the varying elevations of objects and the curvature of the lunar surface, can cause shadows to appear to converge or diverge in ways that seem profoundly counterintuitive to the untrained human eye. Furthermore, the human eye and brain are inherently accustomed to interpreting shadows within an earthly atmosphere, where light scatters and diffuses in a fundamentally different manner. On the airless, vacuum-sealed moon, shadows are remarkably sharper, more defined, and possess a stark clarity, leading to entirely different visual perceptions than we experience on our home planet. This difference in light behavior is crucial. The infamous sea rock, a seemingly minor detail, is yet another curious anomaly frequently cited by those who harbor deep doubts about the authenticity of the moon landings. In one particular, widely circulated photograph, a small rock in the immediate foreground appears to have a perfectly formed letter distinctly inscribed upon its surface. This seemingly deliberate and artificial marking has led some to believe it was a prop, perhaps accidentally marked during its placement on a meticulously arranged studio set. NASA, in its official response, has consistently attributed this peculiar and often debated detail to a stray hair or tiny fiber that somehow found its way onto the photographic negative during the complex and often imperfect processing of the film. Such minor imperfections and anomalies, they explain, were not uncommon in the photographic technology and darkroom practices of that era. While seemingly trivial in the grand scheme of lunar exploration, this shock has, for many, become a powerful and enduring symbol for those actively seeking tangible evidence of a grand hoax. It fuels their narrative of deception. The formidable and highly radioactive Van Allen radiation belts present another significant and often raised challenge for conspiracy theorists. These belts, vast and dangerous zones of energetic particles trapped by Earth's powerful magnetic field, are known to be intensely radioactive and potentially lethal. How, skeptics ponder with genuine concern. Did the astronauts manage to survive passing through these intense and deadly radiation zones without succumbing to lethal doses of radiation sickness? This critical question taps into legitimate and understandable concerns about the very real dangers of space radiation. NASA's detailed and scientifically rigorous explanations address this by highlighting several crucial and carefully considered factors. The Apollo spacecraft, they meticulously explain, traversed these belts relatively quickly, minimizing the overall duration of exposure to the most intense radiation. The specific trajectory chosen for the missions was also meticulously designed to pass through the weakest and least hazardous parts of the belts, further reducing risk. Moreover, the thick aluminum walls of the command module provided a substantial degree of shielding, effectively protecting the astronauts from the most harmful radiation. The cumulative radiation dose received by the astronauts during their brief transit was, they assert, well within acceptable safety limits established for the time, and far below any lethal threshold. This careful planning was essential for survival. The apparent absence of a significant blast crater directly beneath the lunar module's descent engine is also a recurring point of intense scrutiny and skepticism. A powerful rocket engine, firing with immense thrust to slow the spacecraft's rapid descent, should logically have excavated a noticeable and substantial crater in the soft lunar regolith. Where's the evidence of such a powerful blast? Critics demand, suggesting a clear lack of genuine propulsion and a staged landing. NASA's highly experienced engineers provide a precise and technical explanation for this observation. The lunar module's descent engine, they clarify, was meticulously throttled down significantly in the final moments just before touchdown, reducing its thrust dramatically. This crucial reduction in thrust meant that the engine was not operating at full crater-forming power when it was closest to the lunar surface. Furthermore, the lunar soil, or regolith, is surprisingly cohesive and compact, unlike loose, shifting sand. The relatively low thrust at the point of landing, combined with the unique, compacted nature of the lunar surface, resulted in minimal and often imperceptible excavation. The lunar surface proved more resilient than expected. The amount and peculiar behavior of dust kicked up by the landing are also points of contention for some conspiracy theorists. They argue that the visual evidence of dust plumes, or lack thereof, is inconsistent with the powerful exhaust of a rocket engine operating in the absolute vacuum of space. This perceived discrepancy, they contend, further fuels their unwavering belief in a staged event. However, the unique and alien conditions of the lunar environment offer a compelling scientific explanation. The moon's extremely low gravity, approximately 1/6 that of Earth, means that dust particles, once disturbed, behave fundamentally differently than they would on our home planet. They tend to travel further, in long, graceful arcs, and settle much more slowly, almost floating. Additionally, the fine, abrasive nature of the lunar regolith, combined with the complete vacuum, means that dust behaves more like a fine, clinging powder than a billowing cloud of smoke. The exhaust gases themselves would have dispersed almost instantaneously and rapidly in the vacuum, not creating a sustained or visible plume. This unique lunar physics is often overlooked. The curious phenomenon of crosshairs sometimes appearing behind objects in official photographs has also been interpreted by skeptics as undeniable evidence of photo manipulation. These crosshairs, meticulously etched onto the camera's reticle, should theoretically always appear in front of any object in the frame, serving as a fixed reference point. When they seem to be obscured or partially hidden by an object, skeptics argue it indicates that the object was artificially pasted onto a background, a clear and damning sign of fakery. NASA's photographic experts, however, have a straightforward and well-documented explanation for this optical illusion. The crosshairs were indeed on the camera's reticle, but they were designed to be extremely thin and fine. If an object in the foreground was exceptionally bright and highly reflective, or if it was positioned extremely close to the camera lens, the intense light emanating from that object could bleed over the thin crosshair, creating the visual effect of the crosshair appearing to be behind it. This is a known and documented photographic artifact, not evidence of deliberate tampering or manipulation. Such optical effects are common in photography. The slow-motion movement of the astronauts, particularly evident in video footage, has also been subjected to intense and prolonged scrutiny. To some observers, their movements appear almost too fluid, too graceful, almost as if they are suspended by invisible wires rather than experiencing the genuine reduced gravity of the moon. This compelling visual impression leads some to conclude that the footage was simply slowed down in post-production to artificially simulate lunar gravity. This argument, however, fundamentally misunderstands the basic physics of low gravity. On the moon, gravity is approximately 1/6 that of Earth. This significant reduction means that objects fall much more slowly, and all movements, from walking to jumping, take considerably longer to complete. The astronauts' movements, while undeniably appearing slow and deliberate to an earthbound observer, are entirely consistent with the precise effects of 1/6 gravity. Their large, bulky, and somewhat cumbersome spacesuits also contributed significantly to their deliberate and measured movements, making them appear less agile. The visual perception can be deceiving. Beyond these specific and often technical arguments, the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the alleged hoax presents an enormous and almost insurmountable logistical challenge for conspiracy theorists. For the moon landing to have been faked, thousands, if not tens of thousands, of individuals would have had to be intimately complicit in the deception. This vast network would include highly respected scientists, brilliant engineers, meticulous technicians, courageous astronauts, powerful politicians, and even their immediate families. All of these individuals would need to maintain absolute, unwavering secrecy for decades, never once breaking their silence. The probability of such a vast and intricate conspiracy remaining completely undetected, with no whistleblowers, no leaks, and no confessions, seems astronomically low, defying all statistical likelihood. Maintaining such a monumental and world-altering secret for over half a century, across multiple political administrations, technological advancements, and successive generations, simply defies credulity for the vast majority of rational observers. The human element makes such a secret nearly impossible. The historical context of the intense Cold War is often prominently highlighted by those who firmly believe in the hoax. The space race was not merely a benign scientific endeavor. It was a crucial, high-stakes ideological battleground. A proxy war fought between the United States and the Soviet Union. The immense prestige of being the first nation to successfully land a human on the moon was immeasurable, a powerful symbol of technological prowess, political superiority, and national pride. Some argue that the immense, almost unbearable pressure to win this race, to unequivocally demonstrate American dominance on the global stage, could have driven the U.S. government to fabricate the entire event. However, a powerful and often overlooked counter-argument lies in the profound and telling silence of the Soviet Union. Despite their own highly advanced and competitive space program, and their intense, bitter rivalry with the U.S., the Soviets never once officially challenged the authenticity of the Apollo landings. Their silence, in the face of such a monumental American achievement, is widely seen as a tacit, yet powerful, acknowledgement of its veracity. Had they possessed even a shred of credible evidence of a hoax, it is almost universally believed they would have ruthlessly exploited it for maximum propaganda advantage, undermining their rival. This geopolitical silence speaks volumes. Perhaps the most tangible, concrete, and utterly irrefutable evidence against the moon landing hoax theory comes in the undeniable form of the lunar rocks themselves. Hundreds of pounds of these precious alien samples were meticulously collected and brought back to Earth by the various Apollo missions. These invaluable samples have since been meticulously analyzed by thousands of scientists from around the world, working in independent laboratories completely separate from NASA.I. Their unique geological and chemical composition is entirely consistent with extraterrestrial material, and, crucially, distinct from any known Earth rocks. Independent analysis, conducted over decades by diverse scientific bodies, has repeatedly and unequivocally confirmed their lunar origin. These rocks are not merely scientific curiosities. They are concrete, physical, and undeniable proof of human interaction with the moon's surface. They are silent witnesses to history. Furthermore, the laser retroflectors, passive mirror arrays left on the moon by the Apollo 11, 14, and 15 missions, provide ongoing, active, and independent verification. These ingenious devices allow scientists on Earth to bounce powerful laser beams off the moon's surface with incredible precision. By meticulously measuring the exact time it takes for the laser light to travel to the moon and return, scientists can determine the precise distance between Earth and the moon with astonishing accuracy, down to mere centimeters. This cutting-edge technology relies entirely on the continued presence and functionality of equipment placed on the moon by the Apollo astronauts. The continued and routine use of these retroreflectors by observatories worldwide, including those not affiliated with NASA, serves as a constant, independent, and undeniable confirmation of the exact landing sites. This scientific tool offers continuous proof. In more recent years, remarkable technological advancements have provided even more compelling and visually stunning evidence. High-resolution images captured by advanced lunar orbiters, such as NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter LRO, offer undeniable and breathtaking proof. These incredibly detailed photographs clearly show the descent stages of the Apollo lunar modules still resting, undisturbed, on the moon's desolate surface. The distinct tracks left by the astronauts' lunar rovers are also distinctly and unmistakably visible, winding across the lunar landscape. Even the tiny, individual footprints of the astronauts themselves can be discerned in some of these truly remarkable images, a poignant reminder of their presence. The various pieces of equipment left behind, including scientific instruments, discarded backpacks, and even the American flags, are also clearly discernible, matching the precise descriptions and photographs from the original missions. These independent orbital observations provide a powerful, modern-day, and visually irrefutable verification of the historical events. The evidence is literally etched in lunar dust. The overwhelming and virtually unanimous consensus within the global scientific community is that the moon landings were, without a shadow of a doubt, genuine. The vast body of evidence supporting their authenticity is robust, multifaceted, and has successfully withstood decades of intense scrutiny, rigorous scientific challenge, and persistent public doubt. Despite the compelling counter-arguments presented by skeptics and the abundance of verifiable scientific data, the moon landing conspiracy theory stubbornly persists. It often taps into a deeper, more fundamental human tendency, a distrust of authority, a questioning of official narratives, and a desire to uncover hidden truths. The allure of a grand deception, a secret truth concealed from the unsuspecting masses, can be incredibly powerful and psychologically appealing to certain predispositions. The advent of the Internet age, with its unprecedented capacity for rapid dissemination of both accurate information and rampant misinformation, has undoubtedly amplified these theories, allowing them to reach wider audiences and gain new, often fervent, adherents. critical thinking, the careful and discerning evaluation of sources, and a healthy, informed skepticism towards extraordinary claims are more essential than ever when attempting to navigate and understand such complex narratives. The search for truth is a continuous human endeavor. The enduring legacy of Apollo 11, regardless of the persistent and often vocal doubts, remains profoundly significant and inspiring. It represents the absolute pinnacle of human ambition, ingenuity, and an unparalleled collaborative spirit. It pushed the very boundaries of what was thought possible, demonstrating humanity's extraordinary capacity for monumental and seemingly impossible achievement. The arduous journey to the moon was not just a technological triumph of engineering and physics. It was a profound testament to human courage, unwavering perseverance, and the relentless, insatiable pursuit of knowledge. The iconic images of Earth, a fragile blue marble suspended in the vast, indifferent blackness of space, inspired a new and humbling perspective on our tiny planet and fostered a nascent, yet powerful, sense of global unity and shared destiny. The moon landing was a truly singular moment of shared human experience, transcending political divides, national borders, and cultural differences. It united people in a common dream. The conspiracy theory, while undeniably intriguing and the subject of endless, passionate debate, ultimately lacks credible, verifiable, and scientific support. The scientific consensus is crystal clear, and the overwhelming physical evidence points unequivocally to a genuine and historic achievement. The moon landing was real. It was a monumental achievement for all of humanity, a shining beacon of what we can accomplish when we dare to dream beyond our terrestrial confines and reach for the stars. The echoes of that giant leap still resonate powerfully today, continuing to inspire new generations to look skyward with wonder and to continue the boundless spirit of exploration. The moon itself remains a silent, majestic, and enduring witness to humanity's audacious reach. The truth, though sometimes less dramatic and sensational than a grand conspiracy, is often far more profound and inspiring in its implications. The journey of discovery continues, ever onward, into the unknown. It is a testament to human potential,